What did I just see? Did somebody just spot the GT2 RS looking wider than ever? Guys, GT2 RS might be the new record holder, and in this video, I'm gonna tell you why. Alright, I know I want to sit here and just make speculations and say the GT2 RS is gonna be the fastest car. But guys, before I do that, we gotta look at what other cars and other Porsche have done in the past to see where my thought process is coming from. So, first car I want to start up looking at or clearing things up about is the Corvette ZR1 and ZR1X. Now, that car just recently dropped, and we don't have any times on the Nürburgring yet. Chevy's still holding out on that. I have a video kind of showing where Chevy's kind of telling us to hold back our thoughts on them breaking the record with that car. But anyways, my previous video about the Corvette at least, I mentioned that the ZR1X might not even be faster around the Nürburgring than the ZR1. And I didn't have time to explain. So I'm going to briefly explain why I think so in this video. Now, the additional weight of the Corvette ZR1, it's from the hybrid is about 200 pounds. It's less than 200, but right up there in the 180, 170. And it does add a lot of power. It pretty much adds about a horsepower per pound that it adds, which is, it's not bad. Guys, essentially that's going to make a ZR1 extremely good. I'm not ragging on the ZR1X when I say it's going to be still around the Nürburgring than the ZR1. The fact is, guys, there's more to life and there's more to speed in the sports car than the Nürburgring. And so essentially the ZR1X is going to be the faster accelerating car, and it's not going to be that close. That extra 180 horsepower is going to help the ZR1X blitz through the straight line in a way the ZR1 could only dream of doing. And because it's putting that power in the front, making it where the traction is lacking with that much power, it's essentially going to allow it to hook up a lot better, guys. It's going to hook up a lot better. And so, why do I say it's going to be slower around the Nürburgring? Well, the Nürburgring is about 150 corners, and I'll say about 70 of those 150 corners is heavily reliant on being lightweight, having a lot of downforce, and essentially having good rotation in the corner. So the reason I say that is because people always wonder how the 911 GT3 RS with just 500 horsepower is able to fly around the Nürburgring at a 644, with just that little bit of horsepower. And the reason why, guys, is because its average minimum speed, so that's the slow speed where you gotta slow down, is 113 miles per hour. That's significantly faster than the next fastest cars I could think of, So essentially what that means is the GT3 RS have to slow down less. And the reason they have to slow down less is because of weight, it's rotation, it's polar rotation. Because little known secret, guys, that 50-50 weight distribution is good and very important for having perfect balance. But what happens is when you brake, your load shifts forward. So now it's not 50-50 anymore. What Porsche has figured out is that by sticking the engine in the rear, not the middle, but the rear, and they have the 61-39 weight distribution, it's a perfect balance on the braking. So essentially you could brake a lot later and then carry more speed into corners without worrying about the back or the rear and snapping out, because it's perfect even in braking. And then use downforce and again suspension tuning trickery, which Porsche have seemed to master, to handle the rest when you're not on braking. And essentially you could power out because again all that weight in the back, when you shift the load back, you have all the power you need, all the traction you need to put the power down. In the case of the GT3 RS, it's just 500 pounds. But guys, the Corvette eventually has to slow down way more than something like the GT3 RS would have to. Now, if we take that same mindset and we use a GT3 RS body, you make it wider so there's more track. That is going to add weight, however. And then you stick the same hybrid system that you see Porsche using on cars like a 911 GTS. Take the engine, the turbo engine from the old GT2 RS or the 911 turbo. Either one of those engines will do the job just fine. Yeah, I'm sure Porsche have found ways to make even a slightly more, like let's just say they could get it from 690 to, I don't know, 700, 720, 730. Let's be modest and say 720. And then they can make the horsepower given from the hybrid about 80 to 100. Guys, looking at an 800 horsepower Porsche 911 GT2 RS. That's all speculation, but if you're coming out around the 800 mark, I mean, I think Porsche would be able to beat the old GT3 RS by at least 8 seconds, and I'm gonna tell you why. Now let's look at a lesser car for a second. A 911 GTS. The 911 GTS got the hybrid variant of itself, and it makes about 54 horsepower because of the hybrid, and everything else is the same. Also, they made it a little bit wider because the hybrid, believe it or not, only added 60 pounds. So 60 pounds for 54 horsepower. So they use the rest of the weight to just make the car a little bit wider, increase the track. Guys, that GTS outdid its former self with nothing else added. It's slightly heavier by 8 seconds around the Nürburgring, which is, I mean, that's insane because 8 seconds for just 54 horsepower. How did they do it? But guys, by keeping the battery or the hybrid small, not focusing on big power from the hybrid, and not focusing on going all-wheel drive, they kept everything towards the rear-wheel drive, all the motors on the rear wheels. They were able to keep the tried and true 61-39 weight balance on that car, and essentially that the just added weight and the added track was just nothing but beneficial by focusing on the rear wheel drive setup, because you don't need all wheel drive on a track as much as you might think, guys. So Porsche is able to beat the old time by 8 seconds, and that's just with 54 horsepower. Guys, what do you think the GT2 RS sitting on the GT3 body? Probably even a more aggressive body. Honestly, there's probably things Porsche is gonna do that we can't see on the surface, but with more aggressive tuning, I think we could be looking at more than 8 seconds with 800 horsepower. You could be looking at a 12-second delta for the GT2 RS or GT3 RS, or even greater, guys. And that's because, again, they'll keep the same weight distribution, the same balance, while maintaining a wider track, because we already see the picture showing a very wide Porsche 911. And honestly, guys, we might have a record holder on our hands yet again, because I do think Porsche like holding records around the Nürburgring, and honestly, I think they like being known as one of the most track focused car that you could buy without charging you hypercar money. So let me know what you. Let's start this discussion down in the comment section, guys. I want to know what you think. You think the GT2 RS is gonna break records, or you think it's probably just gonna be slightly faster than the GT3 RS, more powerful, give you a little more straight line? Let me know down in the comment section below, guys, because I'm really interested to see what everybody say. I'm saying a record holder.